First, I want to thank Care Partners. For those of you who may not know, it's been about 6 years, and it's designed to help caregivers deal with a loved one who is dealing with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. So it's what we do are transformative programs that help people progress through the journey of dealing with this disease. Everything we do is no cost, so we're reliant on grants and donations, which is really important. In the programs, there are 3 core programs. We have memory cafes, which offer several times a month pure joy to the participants. It's for the caregiver and their loved one to interact with other people. And it's really people say it's the highlight of the month, and they look forward to it every month. And I think there are some people here that would agree with me that we've heard that so many times that the memory cafes are the highlight of the month. The other program are support groups, which people work together. Support group, you probably know what that is, but people share their challenges and successes in terms of being a caregiver, and it offers them and I've heard the line, it's a lifeline for them to have somebody to share this with. And then the third thing that we do, the third core program, is the educational forums, which is what this is today. And we are offering a movie, and it's just to build awareness for not only our organization, but for the disease. And why is that important? In Sonoma Valley, I think the statistics, most recent ones, is that we have 30% of people in Sonoma Valley over age 75 will be suffering some form of dementia. That compares to like 16% in the state and 21% in Sonoma County. So Sonoma Valley, because of its age, has a much higher rate of some type of dementia. So there's a lot of people that need help, and we supply that at a no-cost basis. What we're doing today for this movie is called Wine, Women, and Dementia, and I'll just say right up front, it's reality. And those of you who are caregivers will appreciate it. Those of you who are to get to learn about it will understand what caregivers are dealing with. You might cry, you might laugh. This movie doesn't pull any punches, and it's people that are real life dealing with dementia. So we're going to start the movie. Before I do that, I want to introduce Heidi Legg, who runs all of our programs for Hello,
I'm Heidi Legg, and I'm a licensed marriage family therapist here in Sonoma, and also the director of programs for Care Partners. I got involved in this because my mom had dementia and unfortunately passed in August of 23. And I was thrust into being her full-time caregiver with no warning, as the way it normally kind of happens, as you'll see for the woman in the movie as well. It's not something that people look to volunteer for. And as John said, this movie will show the humanity of it, the humor, the exhaustion, and it is very real. I want to just give a little warning that there is some possible offensive language in this. Salty language. And please don't miss the message for that. Cover your ears if you need to. And some possibly disturbing moments, or just some uncomfortable moments that if you've never cared for someone living with dementia, you might not have experienced, but if you have, you'll recognize. Also, I just really want to say we know that, this film is primarily for caregivers. There may be people here in the audience who have dementia or who are newly diagnosed. I really want to emphasize something we talk about in support group a lot is if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. It shows up so different for many different people. So if you are newly diagnosed, please don't let this frighten you. The purpose of the film and Care Partners is to let you know that people can live really beautiful, fulfilling lives living with memory loss and dementia, and have so much to offer our community. I mean, if that's one thing I've learned, it's you all have so much to offer us to learn as well. Yeah, the example I like to give, just, again, the way it shows up so differently, I'm very lucky that my mom never got violent or too defiant. If she did, it was kind of like a kid and it was cute, the way she did it. But she only got sweeter. However, my mom never slept, never took a nap. So that was a challenge. So we had caregivers quitting left and right because they couldn't keep up with her. So that's just one little example of the different ways it can show up. We have this amazing panel for our Q&A today. So we have, in the middle, we have Chloe France is a social worker and currently works at UCSF Memory and Aging Center. She earned a Master of Social Welfare degree at the University of California, Berkeley. Before joining the Memory and Aging Center, Chloe worked as a social worker at a memory care facility, working closely with residents and their families. Chloe has worked in long-term care settings and inpatient services and provided in-home visits. She loves to collaborate with caregivers to find solutions and build community. And then Pat, right here to my right, Pat Coleman. Her love for older adults began when she was 14. She volunteered at the Little Sisters of the Poor Home for the Aged. As an adult, she worked at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay in Berkeley, where she planned activities, listened to the stories of the participants and their care partners. She recruited volunteers and trained staff. She earned her Master's of Nonprofit Administration at the University of San Francisco and became Executive Director of Senior Access, an adult day care organization with 3 centers in Marin County. Back to work, she loves with the families. Pat is at the Vintage House offering activities, brain games, and fun. And then Patricia Brooks on the end, LCSW, PhD. Patricia is a licensed clinical social worker and has a PhD in healing psychology and integrative medicine and has been a mental health provider for over 50 years. She has years of experience working with clients and their families that are struggling with the challenges of cognitive impairment. Patricia was one of our original board members of CPI and continues as an advisory consultant for the Sonoma community. She taught in the Remind program through the Buck Institute of Marin. Patricia uses her skills in assessing and supporting families and individuals to identify and connect to needed resources and to provide strategies and support for coping with the challenges of living with cognitive impairment and dementia. She is available to our community with an office here in Sonoma. Welcome. Thank you. Again, if you have any questions, please pass them this way, and my husband Matt will collect them for you. So I think I just wanted to start with, again, I've seen the movie 3 different times, and I was still up there wiping my tears, just reminiscing about my own caregiving journey and the realities of it. Maybe each of you wouldn't mind giving just a sentence or 2 of your thoughts on the movie and maybe what resonated or stuck with you the most. And I'll start with you, Pat.
My takeaway from this, even though I have 3 members of my family with dementia, is how humble I feel for the journey, that this love you give, and I'm completely in agreement with all of the emotions of this movie today and my own experience. And I know at the Vintage House, I work for Council on Aging, what I know and believe is what we do there is love. And that really triumphs everything that every activity we have. And this movie brought that out. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say similar. The reason I really liked the film was because it was so honest and raw, and I think we're not always like that widely in our day-to-day. We can keep to ourselves or say that we're fine. And so I just really appreciated the true honesty of the experience and the range of emotions that come with it. I also just really liked that the film had all those beautiful shots of Gloria and the other people. It kind of, like you're saying, Pat, like centered the love that kind of is the fuel for the journey. And you could kind of see the humor and quirks that made her daughters fall in love with her. So I liked that kind of centering of that.
Ditto. One thing that really, really jumped out at me was the focus on wine. But kind of the meaning that I assigned to that is how critical it is that as caregivers we have options for coping strategies. Wine in this film was a coping strategy. You may have noticed that. A lot of wine drinking. What are the other options? I think that's something that we can all spend some time learning about together, spending time together, talking to each other as caregivers, the caregiver support group through the Care Partner Initiative program, but also looking at what are some other coping strategies. One of the things they didn't focus on a lot, but it was mentioned, was the importance of respite care, being able to get breaks from the frustrations and some of the joys of caring with someone that has those kinds of cognitive impairment challenges, but also looking at what other alternatives are for coping. I have a lot of clients that are now, meditation's a really big thing now, but you know what? It helps. It really does help. So looking for alternatives, exercise programs for ourselves, walking groups, ways that we can get a little bit of break and get some relief at the end of the day. So that really jumped out at me. Wine's not the only option. Actually, for your person that does have cognitive impairment, research now tells us that wine is not a good option if you have cognitive impairment. So just things to keep in mind.
My mom loved wine, and so we ended up getting non-alcoholic wine, but she had no idea that it was non-alcoholic wine. And so she would have a couple glasses and be like, oh, this wine is great, I feel great. But you know what? It worked and she was happy, so. Okay, a couple questions we have here. And maybe raise your hand if you feel like you have some good ideas for this. What are some tips for caregivers preparing for the holidays? We talk about this a lot in support groups coming up here soon, because the holidays can be a lot of work, it can be a lot of people, it can be a lot of confusion. And for someone who has dementia, sitting in a room with a bunch of people talking really fast, they feel left out. They get real quiet. So, all right, Chloe has an idea.
Yeah, so I've learned from working with caregivers, I always say caregivers are the real experts. So they are who I've learned by far the most from, more than anything else. So I've learned from them. And I remember one gentleman told me once that before his family came over, he would send an email with kind of do's and don'ts or tips to interact. So I thought that was kind of a nice tangible thing, get everyone on the same page. And one of those tips was that his wife really wanted to be a part of the celebrations and everyone wanted her there, but it would be overstimulating if there was a lot of music and a lot of things going on. So they would give her her own kind of designated chair or throne in a separate room, and she would have visitors in and out the whole night, but maybe that would be one-on-one rather than everyone coming in at once. And I think she felt very honored to kind of be the guest that people were coming to see, and I thought that was a really good, tangible tip. The other one that I've learned is just really doing what works for you. You know, if you can celebrate on a holiday that's not the holiday. You know, Christmas can be on December 15th, and that's okay. So I just really like giving yourself that permission and that grace to do what works for you, no matter what that looks like, because that's what's most important.
Thank you. That's very, very good advice. My mom's last birthday was her 75th birthday, and we kept it very, very small. I think it was, you know, just my kids basically and one of her caregivers, and it was very meaningful and not overwhelming. And it's one of my most cherished memories, actually, of her. So, this is a very good question, and this comes up all the time, again, in support groups. And As Patricia, you were saying about what are the other coping strategies, I want to just say our support groups, we have one in person every month and one Zoom support group every month for those who can't leave their loved one at home. Our goal is to try to have one a week because there are many who say once a month is not enough. But the support groups are a very good way to get support and to feel that you are not alone. I was lucky enough to have my own support group that helped me through it. And our support group is consistently every single month full with a waiting list. So it just tells you how much there's a need for this. So this is a question that comes up a lot. What is the best way to introduce a respite caregiver into the home? Anybody want to take that one on? Okay.
Well, I have to use it from personal experience. I have a sister who's about 9 years younger than I am, and she now has a caregiver coming into the home 7 days a week for 8 hours each day. And she was introduced as Connie's personal assistant. And, oh, Connie really liked that. Oh, yeah, because, when Connie's career, she was self-employed, and so they used the language and the words about her knowledge and her employment, and this personal assistant will take her to the beach when she wants to go, because that was part of also taking away the car, and so her personal assistant. And when I would call her, actually, I would call her every Monday on my sister Connie on my way to Sebastopol, where I worked at the time, and I'd say, "How are you doing?" "Oh, my personal assistant just arrived. I think we're going to go to the beach." But some people may not like that kind of white lie. You just have to be true to yourself and see what would be accepted best.
I think sometimes, depending upon the degree of cognitive impairment, sometimes, you're talking about little white lies. One good white lie is, let's do this for me. I'm a caregiver. This is something that would really help me. I need somebody, I don't feel like I can go get my hair cut because I worry about you all the time when I'm not here. So it would help me if you would let somebody stay with you so I can go and get my hair cut. The other thing I think is important for us to remember is routine is really, structure and routine is really important. So if you're bringing in a new caregiver or a respite caregiver, make sure that they know what the schedule is, that the routine is, and have them fit into the already existing schedule rather than the whole show being a brand new thing. That's really a big leap for somebody that has cognitive impairment.
Great ideas, yes. And I say this many times in my own private practice and also in support groups that I'm completely okay with white lies as long as they are serving a purpose. And if they're, making it for the betterment of everybody involved. And sometimes that's okay. Someone asked, is this film available on streaming platform? It is available on PBS. It's the edited version. So it's the no swearing version, and a few of the stories are not in there. Another question here, which I don't think could be fully answered here, but my cards are outside, and I am happy for anybody to take my card, reach out to me personally. I will tell you, everything I can about Care Partners Initiative and anything I can to help you on this journey. The question is, what financial assistance is there for families without resources? As far as, housing, they talked about Medicaid in here. I want to just reiterate that all of Care Partners resources, all of our programs are free. I mean, I kind of ask you to find another program around that's free. There really aren't any. And, we run completely on donations and grants. And we want to continue to offer more. And we're just about to celebrate our 2 years of having memory cafes. And since then, we've added, then we've added a third Memory Cafe a month, and that one, just so you all know, it's called Memory Cafe Adventures. So it has a little twist. We go out on field trips into the community. Our first one was right here to the community center, and we were able to make ceramics. Next month, we're going to Pets Lifeline, and we're working with pet therapy, dogs and cats, I think. We're going to go to the Sonoma Museum. So please, whoever asked this question, reach out to me and I will connect you, because it's just a broader question. I think you have a, good, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think there's no perfect answer. It's all about like stacking different resources. But one resource that I think is great is there are respite grants out there. So every couple counties in California have a caregiver resource center. So you can just Google caregiver resource center in the county. They typically give respite grants. There's also Hilarity for Charity, which is run by the celebrity Seth Rogen randomly.
Yes.
They have respite grants. The Alzheimer's Association, you could call their helpline and ask about theirs. That's typically for more urgent, if there's just like you need a break, or had a caregiver who's getting surgery and needed someone there. So there are things out there. I wish it was easier. It should be easier. But it's all about kind of looking for different respite grants and stacking those.
For those of you that are caregivers, if you have Medicare, Medicare will pay for mental health support for you if you need some extra help. So just keep that in mind if you can find a provider that takes Medicare. And Medicare will usually give you a list of who locally is a Medicare provider. I'm not talking about medical assistance, I'm talking about mental health support.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Also, at Council on Aging, and I know that in other nonprofits, there's a sliding scale that you have to ask.
And if your loved one's a veteran, there are a lot of resources for veterans, free caregiving as well. So again, yes, the social workers have all the answers. I was a social worker for over 20 years, but in this column, I don't know as much, so thank you very much. That's very helpful. Any other questions from, yes?
I do have another question just along the line of getting help in or a care partner. My father is the primary care partner, and his memory is starting to go. And they still have, my mom has Alzheimer's. He is so resistant to getting help, and it's so painful to see how much help he needs. And then he asks my mom, who of course says, oh, we're fine, you know. So any kind of ideas of how to approach the caregiver to get help who's so resistant?
Well, I think it's a tough one, and I think a lot of people go through that. So echoing Heidi, I think support groups are amazing because people get really creative and you can even brainstorm in the session. But I think similar to what Patricia was saying, it's kind of all that, it's about being like, this is for me, or like taking, I think generally people want to feel in control. I'm the same way. I know that I will be the same way when I'm older as well. And so if you can make it less of like, I'm doing this for you, and more like, I need your help with this, or maybe this is for mom, I know you're totally fine, you're super, you know, on top of it, we just need it for mom. If you can shift the kind of focus off of him and onto someone else who needs it, or even say, you know, a lot of times we have the family members take the brunt of being like, I'm just so overly worried, or, you know, something like that. So I think there's no one answer, it's very difficult, but if you can make it so that it's not about him and he feels capable, because he is in many ways, then that can kind of help start the conversation. And similar to what Pat was saying, like personal assistance, amazing. I've had families who will have someone who's coming to clean the house. Maybe they also are, you know, good at keeping an eye on things safety-wise, or maybe they're from a caregiving agency, but their main job is to come and clean the house. So there's different ways of presenting it, but I know it's hard.
Just to piggyback on that, in your situation, Dad, we need to get you some support so that you can help mom. Let's get you some extra help. Let's get a housekeeper, let's get somebody to mow the grass, but a personal assistant for you so that you can help mom. So really what we're talking about is shifting who's the client, who's the patient. you can shift it off of him, even though he's beginning to have some decline. We want to help you to be able to help mom, do whatever we need to do to give you the support so that you can help mom and keep her safe. Does that help?
It is, and we really feel like we've all talked to him. I think it's my dad. Yeah, so, but thank you.
It can be tough. My dad was a police officer for 35 years in San Francisco, so he didn't trust anybody, and he didn't want anyone at the house, and he didn't want anyone on the property. And so we approached they had a woman who had cleaned their house for 20 years that they loved and they adored. So I reached out to her separately, and I said, hey, is there any way maybe like you'd be open to taking mom to the grocery store or taking her to pick up her prescriptions? And he was okay with that, and then we just kept increasing hours.
Okay, thank you.
It's one way, yeah. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, so no big deal if you don't want to raise your hand, but I know we have a lot of our participants here in that, use some of our programs. I didn't know if anybody wants to share kind of what a memory cafe is like, because it's really hard. It's actually very easy for me to explain it, but I could do it all day long, but I didn't know if anybody's open to doing that. And if not, no worries. Okay, good, we got one.
Yeah, so my name's Andrea, and I have brought my mom to the Memory Cafe. I call it Senior Cafe because she would get suspicious if I said cafe. And I know my story isn't that different from others. I've heard other people talk about the same thing. Is in the beginning they don't want to go. They, you try to explain it. No. A lot of resistance, and then you get there, and it's just so filled with love and acceptance, and it's really easy for them to feel relaxed, and they can participate at the level that they want to participate at. And it might just be, hitting a balloon in the air, with a paddle or something, and that's it, or joining in some song. But they're never put on the spot, and they can do, what's at their level. And the caregiver is always attends with them. It's awesome, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny. I have taken my mom to memory care. I'm the caregiver of the caregiver. And the caregiver loves to have that time as time to himself. That's my dad. And I just echo everything that you said. My mom didn't want to go. She tends to want to isolate these days. And so when I first started taking her, she was definitely not that engaged. She would be polite, but after about 4 times, I think, she started to talk to some of the other people there, and somebody there had the same name as her sister, and that got her talking. And now she goes, although we haven't been in a while, but Monday I think is the day. Anyway, she had knee surgery, so she acts as if she's doing me a favor every time she goes. But I know she's having a good time. She really is, and I love it. It's the best. It's a gift. Thank you. Thank you.
For my mother-in-law, it was when she got her name tag. They know me now, and she gets to know other people, and it's really. But the funny thing is, what she remembers is the one she didn't like. Or are we going to the place with the horses again?
She didn't like the horses.
Hi, I'm Shoshana, and that's funny. My mom would be the same way. I've never been there, but I don't even know what you guys are talking about, so far I know what it's called now. Where is it and how close is it to Santa Rosa?
So a memory cafe is, you know, I was a social worker for over 20 years before I was a therapist, and so I like to believe that I can find resources, and I looked for something like this high and low for my mom, and I could not find it, because guess what, it doesn't exist in Marin County, and to this day, we're still the only ones in Sonoma County, I think, who have memory cafes. Even though it is a national movement, there's about 800 nationally, and there's some internationally. And what a memory cafe is, it's called a cafe because it is the premise of it is a place to come that's kind of a casual gathering, as if you were meeting at a cafe for coffee. And so we meet twice a month now. We have the third one I was saying about the adventures where we go on field trips. Twice a month, the second and fourth Monday of every month, we meet at Sonoma United Methodist Church. And I'll give you all the information. We have all the handout out there. Maybe it's a half hour from Santa Rosa. Okay, perfect, great. It's a beautiful drive. And we have name tags, we sit in a circle, we have a theme every time. Monday is Halloween and we're gonna dress in costume, and we'll have extra costumes. Actually on Monday, the 5th grade class from Prestwood, a local, the public school, they're gonna come down and join us. And then we have a question of the day, and again, they can answer the question or not. It's very casual. The question on Monday will be, what's your favorite part of Halloween? We play bingo sometimes, and they love the prizes. They love the prizes. We do a little move minute. We have music every single time, and it is amazing that we have all different levels of people in dementia, and some people that maybe even are nonverbal. When we start singing, they start singing. They remember that, and it's incredible to see. And then we often have a craft, and we always have snack and coffee. So it's very comfortable. So we would love to have you. And yeah, grab my card, text me tomorrow, I'll give you all the information. Yeah, absolutely.
And the program I work for, the Council on Aging, is different, and it's respite care. And when you bring people in, or when you're contemplating having somebody come to your home, the one thing about our program, for all of us, if there are any caregivers in here professionally, please know that we didn't know your mother or your spouse when they were young. We don't have baggage. We just have them. And we just say, you look great today. Or wait till Ann comes and gives a talk on posture. Wait, do you know what, and I know this is the same thing at the Memory Cafe. Whatever went on before in their lives doesn't exist in our program. It's just us and one another, and we're very social, and we do discussions and things, but that's the beauty of the work that a caregiver can do. So when you're looking for someone you're going to pay to come in, please give them all the history you can. Give them all, if say your mother won a spelling bee, then that can be their activity, because the person coming in is fresh and just will see your parent or your spouse or somebody as a fresh person, and it's very exciting to have that kind of relationship going to the end phase of life.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things at the Memory Cafes, we say we don't talk about dementia there, FYI. We leave the diseases out the door. We focus on the person, and that's it. We're just having a good time. It's joy-filled. It's hard to explain unless you're there, but it's a beautiful thing. So I want to acknowledge that your time is one of the most valuable things that we have, and the fact that you guys have all taken the time to be here today means so much. Clearly, I really believe in this. I resonate with the woman on here when she talked about, like, wow, why did I leave dementia? And now I went right into this film, right? The first Memory Cafe was 3 months after my mom passed. Did I put all my grief into this? Maybe. I think grief maybe sometimes gets a bad rap. It can be very powerful. and it can move us forward. So one of the things that makes me the most sad is when someone says to me, I wish I had heard about CPI back when my parent was alive and had dementia. So that's what this is about, is raising awareness. We want people to know about us. I don't feel any caregiver should have to go through this alone. This does not need to be isolating. So we are here for you. We want to expand. We want to continue offering more. So this is not a fundraiser. I really want to make that clear. We do have, obviously we have some donation envelopes. If you feel moved, if this has moved you in any way, again, we are completely donation and grant based. And the only reason this entire program is here is because people in our community have donated. That's it. That's why we are here. And we will continue growing as long as we can. We would love to offer memory cafes every week. We'd love to offer support groups every week, like I said. We would love to offer monthly educational forums with different topics, such as how to choose a caregiver, how do you know when it's time to choose a facility, difficult dementia behaviors. There's so much to cover, and no caregiver should have to start from scratch. It's scary enough, it's hard enough. So I thank you for your compassion. Yes, Patty wants to say something.
If you're a caregiver, you need support. I've benefited so much, from being with other people who are experiencing the same thing I am. We share ideas, we cry. If you need the help, it's there for you and you should seek it out.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. It's not a fundraiser, but if you so feel there'll be some envelopes out front. Take home, think about it. And I'm sure we'll be contacting you in the next month or two, Bill.
And grab my card, and I'm serious when I say contact me personally. My husband knows, he's very patient with me and very supportive. But I'm serious, so thank you very much. Thank you so much, you guys. I really
everybody.